In a world of storms, freezing nights, and lurking predators, early humans realized survival depended not just on fire or tools, but on protection from the elements themselves. Welcome back to our journey through the Stone Age. Last time, we witnessed the dawn of fire, a game-changer for warmth and cooking. But as one challenge was met, others remained. The biting cold of a blizzard, the relentless downpour of a storm, the vulnerability of sleeping under an open sky, these were the new frontiers of survival. Humanity's greatest tool has always been observation. Our ancestors watched the world around them with keen eyes. They saw how caves and natural rock overhangs offered a respite from the howling wind and driving rain. They saw how animals sought refuge in burrows and dens. It was a simple, yet profound, realization. If nature provided shelter for animals, perhaps it could for them too. Cautiously, they began to experiment, spending nights inside these rocky hollows. For the first time, they felt a sense of security from the elements and the unseen dangers of the night. This was more than just a place to rest. It was a sanctuary. But what if there were no caves? Did survival depend on the luck of geography? Not for a species as resourceful as ours. Where nature didn't provide, humans learned to create. They mimicked the world around them. Watching birds weave nests from twigs and seeing how fallen branches formed natural lean-tos, they got an idea. They gathered large branches, propped them against a sturdy tree or rock, and began weaving smaller branches and large leaves in between. They plastered the gaps with mud, creating a simple, yet effective, barrier. These first, temporary huts were masterpieces of ingenuity. They weren't perfect. The strong gust of wind might send them tumbling, but through trial and error, our ancestors learned the basics of construction. They figured out how to angle the walls to shed rain, and how to build a stable frame. Each failed attempt was a lesson, and each successful shelter was a victory. Another critical lesson came from the hunt. After a successful hunt provided a meal, what was left was the animal's hide. Initially discarded, someone, somewhere, must have felt the chill of a descending night and had a moment of inspiration. They draped the heavy skin over their shoulders. The effect was immediate. The same fur that protected the animal from the cold now protected the human. It was a revolutionary discovery. This wasn't just about staying warm. It was about conserving precious energy. Instead of shivering through the night, burning calories just to maintain body temperature, they could rest. This simple act of draping an animal's skin over the body was the birth of clothing, a technology that would allow humans to survive and thrive in climates they could never have conquered otherwise. With the concepts of shelter and clothing established, the next logical step was to combine them. Our ancestors began to bring their innovation indoors. They looked again to the animal kingdom. They saw how birds lined their nests with soft feathers, and how small mammals burrowed into piles of dry grass for warmth. So, they started lining the floors of their caves and huts with layers of dry leaves, grasses, and even leftover scraps of fur. This simple insulation created a soft, warm bed, trapping body heat and making their shelters vastly more comfortable. It turned a cold, hard cave into a cozy den. Sleeping became more restorative, and the shelter started to feel less like a temporary refuge and more like a home. But the elements weren't the only threat. The night belonged to the predators. A simple hut offered concealment, but not necessarily defense against a determined saber-toothed cat or a pack of hungry wolves. So, early humans began to think strategically about location. They learned to build their shelters with a tactical advantage. They chose sites on high ground with a clear view of the surrounding area, making it harder for predators to launch a surprise attack. They built their huts against impassable rock faces, creating a solid wall that couldn't be breached from behind. They used dense thickets of thorny bushes as natural fences. This was the dawn of defensive architecture. It wasn't about building a fortress, but about using the landscape to their advantage, tipping the scales of survival ever so slightly in their favor. The combination of a well-placed, insulated shelter and the warmth of animal skins transformed the night. No longer was it a terrifying period of shivering vulnerability. For the first time, humans could experience deep, secure rest. This had profound implications. A well-rested human is a more effective humaner, better hunter, a better toolmaker, a clearer thinker. Safety also came in numbers. Huddling together in a shared shelter not only increased warmth but also meant more eyes and ears to detect danger. This communal sleeping arrangement strengthened social bonds, fostering a sense of shared responsibility and mutual protection. The night became a time for the group to recharge, safe in their collective strength. Of course, these early structures weren't built to last forever. A fierce storm could tear through the leafy roof, and constant use would wear down the walls. Maintenance became a part of life. Our ancestors learned that a shelter wasn't a one-time project, but an ongoing commitment. They learned to patch holes, reinforce weak spots, and improve their designs over time. After a particularly bad storm, they might rebuild a wall stronger than before, or add a steeper pitch to the roof to better shed rain. This constant cycle of building, testing, repairing, and improving was, in essence, the very beginning of engineering. It was a process of iterative learning, where each failure led to a more robust and reliable design for the future. As shelters became more permanent and reliable, they became focal points on the landscape. A single, large cave or a cluster of well-built huts could support more than one family. This led to the formation of the first communities. Multiple family groups began to live together in shared spaces, creating a central hub of human activity. This proximity was transformative. It was here that knowledge could be exchanged more freely. An elder from one group might show a younger member from another how to better cure an animal hide. One hunter might share a new technique for reinforcing a hut's structure. Resources were pooled, childcare was shared, and safety was magnified. This was the genesis of complex social organization, all centered around the simple concept of a shared home. Each small victory was a monumental leap forward, surviving a winter storm thanks to a sturdy hut, avoiding a nocturnal predator because the shelter was well placed, waking up warm and rested, wrapped in a furskin. These weren't just abstract achievements. They had tangible benefits. Health improved, energy levels increased, and the overall chances of survival skyrocketed. More children survived into adulthood. The human population began to grow and expand, all because they had mastered the art of creating their own microenvironment. A small pocket of safety and warmth in a vast and dangerous world. It's a powerful lesson. We often think of Stone Age survival in terms of hunting prowess and tool-making skill. But the ability to protect ourselves from nature was just as crucial. By learning to build shelters and wear clothing, our ancestors didn't just survive. They began to build the foundations of civilization. They created safety, which allowed for rest. They created comfort, which allowed for community. They took the first, definitive steps from being mere creatures reacting to their environment to becoming shapers of their own destiny. Having secured their homes and protected their bodies, our ancestors could now turn their full attention to the next great challenge, becoming more efficient and successful hunters. They had the tools, but how could they use them to take down larger, faster, and more dangerous prey? Next time, we'll explore how early humans developed sophisticated hunting strategies, using teamwork, communication, and their growing intellect to become the planet's apex predators. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you're enjoying this look into our deep past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We'll see you then.